Dog abuse caught on video. Long Beach, California, a city many people visit to relax, enjoy the ocean, and spend time with family and friends. But on April 21st, 2025, a clip that was widely shared on social media sparked massive outrage and a nationwide manhunt. A disturbing video surfaced showing a dog being violently abused, which led to a police investigation and an arrest. In the video, a man later identified as 28-year-old Alexander Cueva can be seen hoisting his 6 to 8-month-old German Shepherd mix, Inara, off the ground by a leash, swinging the animal over his head and slamming it into the ground. He then kicks the dog, yanks it off the ground again by its neck, and continues walking with the animal slung across his back. The video outraged thousands of people, and rewards of up to $5,000 were offered, which helped lead to his arrest and conviction. Shortly before 8:30 p.m. on April 22nd, detectives located Cueva in the 800 block of Pine Avenue and took him to the city jail, where he was booked on suspicion of felony intentional cruelty to an animal. According to the Long Beach Police Department, the dog was rescued and is now safely in the care of Long Beach Animal Care Services. She sustained injuries consistent with suspected trauma, but is expected to heal with time and proper care. She will be placed in a foster home during her recovery. In the end, Alexander Cueva would plead no contest, and the court would sentence him to 3 years in state prison, bringing a dark chapter to a close. Troops caught committing war crimes. The ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine has dragged on for years, reshaping the region and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Cities have been bombed, communities torn apart, and countless lives forever changed as the conflict shows no signs of slowing. Amid this devastation, a horrifying event unfolded, one that shocked the world and revealed the brutal realities of war. Drone footage from Pyatakaki was captured by both Russian and Ukrainian drones, showing two completely different versions of the same story. The Russian and Ukrainian drones recorded the surrender of 4 Ukrainian soldiers. In both recordings, one of the Ukrainians can be seen with his arms raised and appearing unarmed as he leaves a shattered house. With a Russian soldier pointing a gun at him, the man positions himself spread-eagled on the ground next to his comrades. The Ukrainian drone footage shows Russian soldiers briefly searching their prisoners as 2 more troops arrive at the scene. One of the soldiers pauses to speak into his radio, while the 4 Ukrainians remain on the ground, unarmed and surrounded. The Russian recording then cuts away, but when the Ukrainian drone feed resumes just moments later, the situation has changed dramatically. The footage shows Russian soldiers opening fire on the captured prisoners, all 4. The Russian soldiers are identifiable by the red or white markings on their uniforms. As the drone flies higher, the video does not last long and eventually cuts off. What began as a recorded surrender ends in an incident that is now being examined by international investigators. Many media outlets and news organizations requested statements from both sides. Russia's Ministry of Defense did not respond to requests for comment on the incident, and Ukraine declined to comment, stating that the deaths are being investigated as a suspected war crime. Both sides are under intense scrutiny, as both sides accused each other of wrongdoing. Russian authorities have said they have opened thousands of criminal cases alleging Ukrainian crimes since the start of the war, while Ukrainian prosecutors have documented and investigated tens of thousands of alleged Russian war crimes. But no matter which side is on the wrong, one truth remains undeniable: innocent lives are being lost. This war has already caused enough pain and destruction, and it should come to an end so that both sides can begin to rebuild and live in peace. But looking at the constant news and what's shown on TV, it seems this war is far from over. Man loses his life in a convenience store. On the night of March 27, 1993, Pete Schrum, a 61-year-old former U.S. Army sergeant who served in Korea during the Korean War, was working a late shift at a Diamond Shamrock gas station in Mesquite, Texas. After returning from the war, Schrum spent most of his career in the insurance business. In his later years, he worked as a convenience store clerk. He was a married man and had 3 children with his wife. That night, his life would be taken in a devastating and violent attack. At around 11:20 p.m., Schrum was assisting a woman named Peggy Wells, a regular customer at the store, who was buying gas for her car. Wells had forgotten her purse and did not have enough money to pay. She returned to her car to get another purse so she could pay for the gas. Shortly afterward, another customer, 22-year-old Wayne Hampton, entered the store and began talking with Schrum. Outside the front door, Wayne's accomplice and younger uncle, 18-year-old Anthony Bernard Hampton, nicknamed Elmo, waited with a handgun. While Wayne kept Schrum distracted with conversation, Anthony entered the store and quietly moved to Shrum's side. He pulled out his handgun and ordered Shrum to hand over the money in the cash register. Shrum cooperated and opened the register, which contained $18. That amount was not enough for Anthony. He then fired 3 shots, and Shrum fell to the floor. Wayne and Anthony took the money from the register, along with a dispenser full of lottery tickets, and fled the store. Peggy Wells was the only witness to the crime. As the robbers escaped, they fired twice at her. She was struck in the shoulder, but survived, unaware at first that she had even been shot because she felt no pain. After the robbers fled, she returned to the store and found Shrum dying. In shock, she ran out and drove down the street to find help. Minutes later, another customer arrived and found Shrum lying behind the counter. He waved to his wife outside, hoping she could save him, as she was a nurse. The customer then called the police. Emergency responders tried to save Shrum, but it was already too late. He was critically injured and passed away shortly afterward. The crime was recorded by 2 security cameras, giving police a crucial lead. On March 29, 1993, just 2 days after the murder, Texas TV stations aired the footage in hopes that viewers could help identify the suspects. The response was immediate. One man recognized Anthony from a trampoline factory where they had once worked together. After following multiple tips and questioning family members, police tracked both suspects down and arrested them the next day on murder charges. Both men were convicted of capital murder and received life sentences. They must serve at least 35 years in prison before becoming eligible for parole. Prosecutors had pushed for the death penalty and even called witnesses in an attempt to persuade the jury, but the court ultimately chose to spare their lives. But the life they once walked freely in is now beyond them, and they won't return to it anytime soon. Mother and a son fatally shot by a police officer. This tragic incident occurred in Panaquí, Tarlac, Philippines. On December 20th, 2020, video footage shows Jonel Nuesca, a police officer previously charged with 2 homicide cases and multiple administrative violations, confronting the Gregorio family over the use of a boga, a bamboo noisemaker cannon that produces a loud sound that can be heard from a long distance. When Nuesca attempted to arrest Frank Anthony, who appeared intoxicated, his mother, 55-year-old Sonia Gregorio, intervened by restraining her son and preventing his arrest. The confrontation was captured on video. It shows Nuesca in civilian clothes and accompanied by his 12-year-old daughter rushing to the Gregorio family's house. Sonia is seen embracing Frank in an attempt to protect him, while bystanders plead and cry in the background. At one point, Nuesca's daughter intervened, yelling, "My father is a policeman." Sonia mockingly responded by quoting lyrics from a popular South Korean K-pop girl group, which enraged Nuesca. He drew his weapon and began threatening Sonia and her son, and the situation escalated violently. Sonia in the head, then Frank twice, before Sonia again as she lay on the ground. All of this occurred in front of his daughter and the victim's relatives. The crime was reported to the police about 20 minutes later, as Nuesca had fled the scene and gone to his parents' house. He later surrendered himself at a police station, seemingly believing he could evade consequences, given his previous record. Over the course of his career, Nuesca faced multiple disciplinary actions during his career. He was suspended for 10 days in 2010, later faced a serious misconduct case in 2013 that was dropped, and in 2014 was suspended for 31 days over an alleged refusal to take a drug test. In 2016, he was charged with neglect of duty for missing a court hearing, but the case was eventually closed. But on January 10, 2021, Nuesca pleaded not guilty to the charges. He was dismissed from his position the following day. The court ultimately found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to prison for each count and ordered to pay substantial sums to the victim's family, an amount that will take years to fully repay. PhD student filmed dozens of assaults on women. Zhenhao Zhu is a 27-year-old Chinese man who was studying mechanical engineering for a PhD at University College London. He first arrived in Britain in 2017. The lifestyle Zhu lived was largely funded by his wealthy parents in China, where he had enough money to undergo several cosmetic procedures, including hair transplants, and regularly displayed his collection of designer bags, luxury jewelry, and Rolex watches. Like many people his age, Zhu used dating apps to meet new women. To the outside world, he appeared to be an ordinary, successful student, but behind closed doors, he was committing some of the most disturbing crimes London police had ever encountered, secretly recording everything and storing it on his phone. Since there is no public video available for this part of the case, most of what we know comes from court records and investigative reporting. According to multiple news articles, Zhu lured women to his flat by pretending he needed help studying, keeping them there long enough to secretly drug their drinks with substances such as Investigators later recovered hundreds of videos from his phone, showing a man believed to be Zhu women who appeared heavily intoxicated or unconscious. Many of the victims have still not been identified, and in several clips their faces are never shown. Other footage described in court shows victims struggling to speak, clearly distressed but incapacitated by drugs. In one video, Zhu reportedly looks directly into the camera as a woman's bruised face comes into view. None of these recordings are available online, as London police have only presented them during court proceedings. But in total, authorities recovered approximately 1,270 videos, totaling more than 1,660 hours of footage, including 58 recordings showing Zhu assaulting women. Investigators also discovered a large stash of drugs that he had used on his victims. His earliest known crimes began in China, where he used WeChat to find women. His social life revolved around nightclubs in London's Chinese community, and several of his friends later said they had stepped in multiple times to stop him from taking intoxicated women back to his home. Zhu has now been convicted of attacks on 10 women, with the recovered videos serving as the primary evidence behind the guilty verdicts. When questioned by detectives and shown the videos on a laptop, Zhu showed no emotion or empathy. He claimed that all of the women were consenting partners, but investigators and prosecutors rejected his account. During a search of his apartment, which was paid for by his parents, police also found multiple trophies taken from his victims, a behavior often associated with serial killers. He remained expressionless in his seat as the clips were playing. He denied 11 counts of along with 3 counts of voyeurism, 12 counts of possession of extreme pornographic images, and 8 counts of possession of a controlled drug with intent to supply. But on June 19, 2025, Zhu was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 24 years before he can even be considered for parole, cementing his place as one of the most disturbing offenders in London's criminal history.